Hello again, another Ref Show. Welcome along. We've got Dean Mohareb and we have Paul McGuinness on the panel this week to dissect the weekend's action. More positives, I think, than negatives for referees generally. So we have to look pretty hard for sort of contentious decisions. And before we come to the big Sunday games, Spurs 0, Swansea 0. You know, this was a shock result in a way. Swansea holding out against Tottenham and against 3 penalty claims. Now, Mike Dean's a strong character, isn't he?
Yes.
He's not going to be cajoled into giving a penalty. There were 3 shouts.
Yeah.
Some of them were correct.
Yeah, Mike Dean's a good referee and a very experienced referee, and there were 3 strong claims for penalties. 2 I thought he got spot on. Yeah. There was 1 that was, I think, for a handball that I thought was probably a penalty. But no, I thought he had a good game, Mike.
I mean, there was a trip, I think, near the end. There was a Swansea handball shout,
yeah, and
there was also another handball shout in the middle. So, you know.
Well, there was the one probably contentious was when he gave a handball against the attacking player and it hit his chest, and then he was tripped up.
Yes.
You know, maybe accidentally, but I think if he was going towards goal and it happened, I think that would be a free kick. So, in one sense, that was one where he probably just got it wrong, hit the guy on the chest, and he gave handball there. Yeah.
There's so many great decisions to highlight. I mean, not least in another goalless draw. We started with 2 goalless draws, which is unusual. West Brom and West Ham. Paul Tierney was in charge of that, and there was an incident. I think in real time, some commentators were howling for a red card here. Ben Foster raced from goal, the Albion keeper, and brought down Javier Hernandez. Only got a yellow card. The words I heard were escape with a yellow card, but actually...
No, he got it spot on. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the denial of an obvious goal-scoring opportunity because the attacker was moving away from goal, and it wasn't serious foul play. It was a reckless challenge. So I thought Paul Tierney, who I think is consistently becoming one of the steady referees in the Premier League and needs now to start being given some more challenging games, I thought he did really well.
So I think on that one, it's the speed. The speed the striker's going and the speed he comes out. But the fact is, he's not head on. That's another thing. He's sort of going across. And actually, it's reckless. He's going away from goal, so it's not a goal-scoring chance. He could have caught him, but he didn't. But it's a case of, he could only catch him in that one instance, I think. If you're head on, you're going to hit him every day of the week. You know, so it wasn't as dangerous as it looked at first.
And I think there's a misconception that, it has to be a goal-scoring opportunity to be sent off. It doesn't. It has to be an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. Yeah. And when a player's moving away from goal, it puts that element of doubt, as Paul says. He's not head on, he's moving away from goal, so it puts the element of doubt in the referee's mind that it has to be an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. And to me, it wasn't obvious that the attacker would have got a shot on goal if he'd have got around the goalkeeper, because he had so much to do in terms of getting the ball. Yeah,
it's changed, this kind of law over the years, really, since being brought in and how it was interpreted. You remember our good friend Keith Hackett, the controversy with Tony Gale's sending off all those years ago. West Ham, by the way, if you look at You Are the Ref International YouTube site, great confrontation between Tony Gale and Keith Hackett, many years on debating that decision. But, he was going away from goal when Tony Gale brought him down in that instance, the attacker.
I don't think the West Ham fans have forgiven Keith.
No, it's still a great talking point. Later on in the Championship, no penalty marks in one game, no penalty spots in either area. How on earth did that happen? We'll discuss that. Anthony Taylor was in charge of a very one-sided game, Manchester City winning 6-0 at Watford. It's unusual to sort of nitpick over a 6-0, but Paul, first and third goals, you look at them back, they were offside, weren't they?
Yeah, and it just shows how very difficult it is, by a toenail, I think. So again, if a ball goes in the net and it's a goal, there's a chance then to use a video ref. That would be a case, in the future, I think, where those would be cleared up, where, it's been a goal, well, we'll just check it quickly to be sure, and you'd have seen very quickly just or inches offside. Yeah.
Can you blame an assistant referee for that? Because it's fractional, isn't it? Really fractional.
I just think that there is an inconsistency in the way that we're interpreting offside at the moment. So, going back a few years ago, there was the instruction that we were to give the benefit of the doubt to the attacking side. because people wanted to see goals. So in instances like this, where Paul says, where you're talking toenails, millimetres offside, the goal would have been allowed to stand, everybody would have accepted it, and the game would have gone on. What we're getting now is we're getting some decisions like this at Watford where the goals are being chalked off, and you go to Huddersfield, Leicester, where they're being disallowed for exactly the same incident. And I think that, football is about goals. And if you go back to the history of the offside law, it was in effect to stop goal hanging. That's what the offside law was brought into.
That's a great term.
I was
a goal hanger.
I was a goal
Were you
hanger.
a goal hanger?
Yeah, absolutely. I never scored the goals. But, so you put an attacker up, they'd stay up there, and that was what it was brought in for. And I think we've almost come away from that now, and we're seeing some really good goals being disallowed for,
Can we go back then? Go back to giving
it's
the
hard
benefit
to draw
of
the line. The
line
is that's the rule. How far is it over? How far isn't it? They did change the rule to say you're level if you're on, whereas before you were level if you're off, and that made a big difference. All these little small changes do make a difference to the rules.
The problem is when you're talking about such fine margins, you can actually draw the line across that and say, well, actually, no, he's onside because there's a player's hand in the way. So you're talking, how an assistant can see that, having operated at that level, it is impossible to see that somebody is that finite offside, and that's why the training we were always given was that if there's a crossover or if there's you give the benefit to the attackers, and 99% of the time you'd be proved right. And the majority of mistakes from assistants happen actually when they raise the flag. So they raise the flag in error. That's what was all the training we ever got. But I just think that, and Paul's right, I'd maybe like to see, and it's a bit of a radical suggestion, but I'd like to maybe see now that offside is only in the penalty area. So you actually extend, instead of it being from the halfway line, you actually extend it right down to maybe level with the penalty area. So you can only be offside in the attacking 18 yards.
That would change things
Massively.
very radically. It change the whole game. I think you'd have to be careful with that because you wouldn't have through balls and so on. The game would become very long. You'd have people stood at both ends of the pitch. A bit more like Aussie rules, where they play to one end and the other. So it would be.
But as you say, we can certainly concur with Dean that in John Moss's game, Huddersfield won, Leicester won. Huddersfield did actually score a perfectly legitimate winning goal from Elias Kachunga, which was just ruled out for offside. But there were millimetres in it, just as there were in the two at Anthony Taylor's game. I mean, penalties could have been given in both those games. Leicester had a penalty shout, Demarai Gray, and Watford were refused a penalty as well.
I thought the Watford one was a penalty.
Right. The big games on Sunday, we come to Andre Marriner, Manchester United 4, Everton 0. United, your old club, Paul. Wayne Rooney was in the spotlight, had a great chance, which he contrived himself, didn't score.
Yeah, he had a couple of good chances. Yeah. One that came across in the first half and he hit it first time just past the far post, and then the other where he sort of tackled the defender and slid in and hooked it back, and then just didn't get it wide of De Gea. He'll have been disappointed because he'd have been desperate to score. And really, Everton were well in the game at that point. Yeah. It was only later that the United sort of ran away with the game. But certainly they are missing. Well, they're missing Lukaku. Yeah. If they had him there, they'd be a whole different team. Obviously.
Great strike from Valencia. Very good performance for Andre Marriner, blogged by Mark Halsey.
I thought Andre Marriner was excellent, and I know that on Ref Cam we've sort of looked at the fitness of the referee and the position. I said, but ultimately they're judged on big decisions. And I was saying before we went on air, there was a penalty claim in that game, Lingard, which at fast time watching it, I thought was an absolutely nailed-on penalty, and Andre Marriner was absolutely spot on to decline it. He got the penalty at the end right that he awarded for handball. He was right not to issue any cards for that. I just thought Andre Marriner is fast becoming one of our best referees on the Premier League. He's always been consistent, but he's actually now, in my opinion, becoming one of the leading referees. And I just think it's partly because he's so relaxed.
I think so. It's a big thing. He's very calm, but very assured, doesn't get ruffled by anything. And that poise and assuredness, has an effect on the players. They don't then start having a go at you as much, and he just shrugs things off. Off he goes. He seems very, very assured, and that's how the best referees are. Yeah.
Michael Oliver as well in Ref Show Part 2. We'll look at that big Sunday game between Chelsea and Arsenal. There was a red card in that, but also a talking point about what exactly is dangerous play. You know, it's coming up almost every week now. And by the way, a great column from Keith Hackett analysing that London derby in the Daily Telegraph. Do catch up with that. Just to top and tail part 1, some incidentals but good from younger referees. Craig Pawson in the South Coast derby, Bournemouth 2, Brighton 1. Bobby Madley, Rob Harris blogged this one. Andy Hogg blogged the Craig Pawson game, both very impressed. Stuart Atwell, Newcastle 2, Stoke 1. Roger East, the oldest referee in the Premier League, Liverpool 1, Burnley 1. Liverpool should have had a penalty.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, in that. Okay, that tops and tails that. Lots of Championship action, Football League to come, and that big London derby. Do rejoin us for part 2.